Hello, good evening, and welcome to Victims of the Punt, show about New South Wales horse racing. Saturday's meeting at Rosehill is on the lands of the Burrow-Mudigal clan of the Darug people. We acknowledge them as the traditional owners and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Victims is brought to you by Australian-owned and operated bookmaker ReadyBet, the winner-finding machine that is Mailbag Bloodstock, Punting Form, Australia's best racing database, and Urbane Mess Pomade. They don't know about that yet, but if they want to send a few sample jars down to the inner suburbs of Melbourne, they'll find a home. Anyway, if there was ever an example of why you should firstly be watching Victims every week, and secondly subscribe to Rob Scurry's Mounting Yard mail service, it was found in Race 1 at Warwick Farm on Wednesday. Rob let go with a very solid 2-unit play on Miyoshi, who drifted out to silly odds of around $5 at jump time, and just held on from the Mark Shean trial backbooker Aft Cabin, who was very solidly backed and ran a great race on debut. All angles are covered here. Make a note of what Mark finds later in the show, and head to the mailbag.com.au and download the app to access Rob's great service and many other fine products.
Mark, what's ReadyBet offering the punters this week?
Well, if you head to readybet.com.au, you'll find under sport specials, we've got a very attractive offer on Australia in the Commonwealth Games. Can't say too much about that on air, but check it out. It's pretty attractive, I think. We've got specials on the Dogs for the first time this week, Sandown Park tonight, and the Meadows and Wentworth Park on Saturday night. Some great promos there. We've got promos 7 days a week on horse racing and on every AFL and NRL match for the rest of this season. So there's plenty for you there. Head on over to readybet.com.au. Right.
RedfernExpress Blackbookers, best part of the show. Best free content you'll find in Sydney racing, presented by the Mailbag Bloodstock.com.au. Have 20% left in this filly now. The Autumn Sun out of Trevesa. Beautifully bred from a stunning Japanese family. Looks perfect for the Oaks. Out of a 3/4 sisters, a Japanese champion, King Kamehameha. Thank you. Come on, people, buy this. I can't keep saying this every week. Here's the sire of Lord Kanaloa. Our filly is bred on the same cross as Fundamentalist and Reloaded. Hedge to the leading stable of Annabelle Nation. Gives us the flexibility to go to Gold Coast or Warwick Farm. Shares from 1704. Incredible value for such a well-bred filly. And any win, let alone a black type win, will send her residual value through the roof. So hit up Jono at themailbag.com.au to get more info. Okay, two more for the Black Book. The first is a Godolphin filly who always threatened to be group class. Could this be the prep she delivers? Her name is Larkspur Run at Warwick Farm last Friday.
Yeah, I thought she trialled pretty well, Larkspur Run. She was eased right out the back. I think James McDonald was the rider. Godolphin had 3 runners in this race, and Larkspur Run is eased right out the back. She does finish last in the trial, but just watch her go to the line under a hold over the last 40 metres or so. I like the way that she picked up under a hole, as you can see here, just give an easy time out the back. It's pretty hard to make ground in these trials, especially when they go slow up front. And she's got the white cap on, Larkspur Run, with that baldy face. I think her last run was in the PJ Bell, or one of those good mares races where she was caught on the inside in the worst part of the track, but she just really charges through the bridle here in the last few strides, and I thought that was a very nice trial. So watch out for her in the coming weeks. So that's Larkspur Run out of the Warwick Farm trials on the synthetic track.
Can I just jump in, Mark? So do you think, they've obviously had an opinion of it, and she started pretty short in a couple of races too. Do you think that's the grade she can get to, i.e. group class or group or listed class, or would it be just a run below that, do you think?
Yeah, look, I think she's probably around listed to Group 3 level. I think that's, I wouldn't be sort of thinking she'd be getting much higher than that. I think that's what they're aiming for, probably in the second tier.
Yep.
But look, she's had a few runs there where she was, it's on the end of a pretty ordinary ride there at Randwick one day, I might remember, and she's having a lot of luck another time. So, look, she's had a bit of a checkered career and hasn't won a lot of races, but she does handle wet and dry, and I think she could have a good preparation this time. She was a little bit small to start with, so she might have filled out a little bit.
Okay, next one for the Black Book is an unraced 2-year-old from the O'Shea stable who trialled at Randwick on Tuesday, Jan Quira.
Yeah, Junqueira is a capitalist filly, I think, or a cull. I'm not too sure. I didn't look that up. I'm not doing my homework, am I? Anyway, Hugh Bowman rode this horse in the trial. It's a Roll Division there. That's in the maroon with the white cross sashes, drew an outside barrier and was eased right out the back of the field coming to the home turn. As you can see, it's close enough to last coming to the bend at about 4 and 5 wide. Gets onto the back of Zoo Tiger, who trialled quite well also, who's in the corded colours, the stablemate. And they both finished the trial off very nicely over the concluding stages. This was its third trial in its career so far. It hasn't been to the races, but it's had a couple of preparations, and this is its third trial and hasn't been overly knocked about on each time. And I really did like the way it stretched out there under minimal exertion from Bowman over the last 100 metres particularly. So watch out for it. Around midweek class, I would say, at this stage. Also, I would just like to mention very sad news this week about Billy Picken passing, who was the great Collingwood footballer. He worked with us at Mark Rhoden for some time when he came up to Melbourne. He was playing for the Swans. He was on the front bag there midweek for us. Could you imagine a football player now of his calibre working on the front bag at the midweeks? It's unbelievable, isn't it, how times have changed?
Well, I'm sure it's the same for rugby league players in Sydney. But when I was growing up, all the footballers had jobs Monday to Friday. They had to. They didn't make enough.
I'll tell you a funny story about Bill, though.
Yeah,
in the old days, everything was cards. It wasn't the internet. And there was one day, I think there was a field of 10 and there were 7 scratching, so they were left with 3 runners. So Bill had filled the cards out for the race and he'd left the barriers off. And Robert Burney, who's the father of Nick Burney, who's now on radio and on Sky Channel, he said, "What have you done here, Bill? You've left the barriers off." And Bill said, "Oh, there were 7 scratchings, Robert. It was too hard to work out." And there were 3 runners left. Oh, he was a character. Dizzy was a funny bloke.
Yeah, and he's got a race named in his honour. Is it on Saturday or was it on Wednesday? I did say there was a race named for him somewhere too.
Yeah.
That's great.
His son Liam played for the Bulldogs?
Yeah, he won a premiership, actually. I think Bill made 5 grand finals and didn't win one.
Wow. Well, yeah. I think Liam was stiff not to win the Norm Smith that year. He and his first quarter against the West Coast, I remember because I backed the doggies at 4-1 underdogs, was he set the tone. Follow me, boys.
It sounds like you might have had something on Liam for the Norm Smith too.
Yeah, I did. Of course I did. I loved it. I think it's something about his hairdo or something. I guess his dad or something. But he was I've got a mate who actually knows him down in Melbourne. Just says he's a champion.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a great bloke, Bill, and very sad news. And commiserations to Julie and the family.
Thanks very much for that, Mark. Well said. Right, we'll move on to Saturday's card now at Rosehill. The track's currently a heavy 9. Not any significant rain forecast, but the nights will be pretty cold. So maybe a chance of an upgrade, but don't bank on it. The rail's at 4 metres. What are you expecting, Mark?
Well, Rosehill is sort of up and in, I think, when the rail goes out. So, unless it ploughs up later in the day, I would expect inside to be the place to be, I would think. Yeah,
I think the punting form data, which is on screen now, backs that up. You can see on their meeting page that lanes 1 and 2 from the 400 to the post are very much favoured. And that's the case pretty much whenever the rail's out more than 3 metres, and we're out at 4 on Saturday. The only exception to that is when you get a very, very wet track, and with no rain forecast, I think it's probably going to improve, if anything. So that shouldn't be the case. I found a couple of meetings there recently on even tracks rated heavy where there was no winner that raced outside lane 2 in the run. So you might be able to make some ground, but they won't be swooping, would be the way I'd read it. Anyway, moving along, we're going to look at, before we leave the punting form data, we'll just have a quick look at the jockey data page, which can be found on the punting form website.
Mark, last week, your jockey tip, Collett, my God, he beat me on naval warfare. I think he voted Treble. He's an amazing wet track jockey, and the data proves it.
We did say he was the informed jock of the winter. If you can get naval warfare to win a race, you might be actually a magician, not just a good jockey. That was quite incredible. I was calling for the brands of that horse to be checked, but apparently all was in order. It was the right horse, but just one of those things. The great uncertainty of racing. Collett sticks out again. Andrew Adkins still outperforming the market. We touched on them last week. Michaela Weir, who will be riding the highway, I suspect, has pretty good Rosehill stats from limited numbers compared to the market at least. But what struck me was that over the last, I think, how far does this data go back? At least 5 years. You could just back every Bowman and McDonald mount and be in profit at Rosehill, which is just staggering for two jockeys of their profile with their public following, and still the market hasn't quite caught them. So you're getting value for money with those two great Sydney jockeys.
Speaking of caught them, I caught Hugh Bowman for a chat. I had a bone to pick with him 15 years later. Honour and War take over Target. We had a bit of a good old chat. Hugh decided, he says he was a technical one, but probably the right decision.
You do mention it every week, Rob. I'll give you that.
I think this has put it to bed though, because he's walking out to walk the track and stuff, and I had to, finally say my piece. And I
reckon Honour and War would have won that day if it had been clear running. But anyway, that's
well. Hugh said to me, he said I would have won if Miss Pageantry didn't lock me in. Well, she did lock you in, and the other horse drifted out for half a stride, but for 3 strides, half a lane. And you won. You and bloody Williams.
Well, this is meant to be a preview show. We're not reviewing races from 2007. But thanks for that little rundown of it anyway. And speaking of previews, we do have 2 races to look at in some depth. The first is the rescheduled Winter Challenge. It's race 8. This was, of course, meant to take place last week, but they were called off after 1. We've got a slightly different field this week, and it's arguably a more interesting race now. I'll just give you the main chances in the market. We've got number 1, Gold Trip at 8, number 6, Oscar Zulu at 10, number 9, Rob's favourite, Jojo Was a Man at 380, number 10, Durston at 10, number 11, Too Much to Bear at 850, 12, Cross Talk is early favourite at 320, and the bottom one, 13, Snippy Fox at 11. Mark's found one a little bit out of the market here, so we'll throw over to you, Mark.
Yeah, I'm going to have a stab at Too Much to Bear here. I thought it went outstanding first up. It drew a wide alley, and typical Waller, it was each right out to the back, but it was 3 or 4 lengths behind the second last horse at one stage. And this race was fought out by basically the first 3 or 4 around the home turn. Too Much to Bear still out the back, and then changing course over the concluding stages. And then got clear air about 150 metres to go. This was with a big weight on his back too, first up from the spell. And I thought he did a fantastic job to wind up there just behind the place getters in 4th spot. Now, he's drawn much better. He's a horse who has lead in the past, so I would expect him to settle in a much more forward position than he was at Rosehill last start. He was a slight query on wet ground prior to that run. He had failed one day as a sort of a short price favourite or a horse well in the market at Kembla, but he drew the worst part of the track that day. So I would say the way he got through the ground there at Rosehill the other day would suggest to me that he'll handle what's tossed up there on Saturday. And I thought he was a bit of value around that $8 or $9 mark, perhaps on an each-way basis, but I thought he looked like he had improvement in the yard the other day, and I thought there was a pretty good run. The sections out of the race that he recorded were fantastic, and I think he's worth an each-way play.
Certainly at a bit of odds, 850 with the 2 Jojo Was a Man and Crosstalk sort of dominating the market to some extent here. You'll get value about your pick if you like anything else, and Mark does, so that's very interesting. Rob, you'd know most, if not all of these. Any comments?
Look, I watched the market for Uncle Chris's horses. I was on Yee last start, barely went a yard, didn't go no good, but totally wouldn't surprise if it turned it around. I don't know what to make a Gold Trip. Buy the mail. Find out. It's rated to win. My only issue with Jojo is carrying 53 kilos, which is the minimum weight. Why can't I just put a senior rider on? Full respect, Reece Jones. But yeah, look, I think he'll go very, very close. We had a decent crack at Crosstalk that they took each other on a couple of starts back. But for me, I think Jojo, he should be pretty suited, and he's a horse I've got a very good line on. So if he's doing what he does in the yard, I'd be struggling to not back him, I'd say.
Yeah, fair. I thought that would be the case. Just before we leave this race, do you have any view at all early doors on Gold Trip, Mark?
Well, I think a 2-year-old won that trial at Albury, so that sort of put me off Gold Trip. Plus, he's got glue on shoes on a wet track. So, from my experience, that in the old days, you would just put the red line through that. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to line him up. He's drawn a bit awkwardly there too, especially if the track's playing to inside.
Yeah.
Look, he'd want to look magnificent in the yard for me to want to back him.
I think the fact that he's $8 suggests that no one has any idea what to do with him, because on his best form, I mean, he's a Cox Plate chance this past year. He's much, much shorter than this, but I think they're opening him at 8 and probably prepared to push him out if there's no money for him, because he might be in need of this run and have a few issues as well. Anyway, we move on to the other race we're going to have a bit of an in-depth look at. It's the last, the Thank You Trainers Handicap. It's a good name for a race, isn't it? Race 10, the Thank You Trainers Handicap. And we'll just give you a rundown of the main chances in the market in this pretty big field. Number 1, Titanium Power 460, 2 Snow Zone 10, 3 Equation at 12, 7 Silent Agenda 13, 8 Memoragan 12, 9 Neroni 650, 10 Sula Mare 480, 12 Ferretti 10, 13 The Mighty Torfey Class was on our last start at $7, and 17 Papal Warrior 750, getting another chance, given another chance by the market. So pretty open according to the market. Mark, which way do you see it?
Yeah, we've got a lot of emergencies there too. We've got 6 emergencies in that race, so the market may change a fair bit. Look, I thought the fact that Sir Lemur drew barrier number 1, thinking that the rail is going to be the place to be. Look, she was comprehensively beaten by Frumos the other day, but Frumos is a group horse. There's no doubt about that. Sir Lemur's got good wet form. She drops back to 1,300 metres, which I think is actually a better distance for her than 14. She was out in the middle of the track here. Frumos coming through. She's got the white cap on. Sir Lemur. Frumos comes through and darts through to win easily, but she didn't lose any ground over the last 100 metres or so. Sir Lemur, I thought she went to the line well. But barrier number 1, whatever happens here, she'll get a good run in the race. Looks to be good speed with Titanium Power. Also Memoragan, so I think they'll run along a little bit. Canasta might even go forward as well. Not sure where Equation's going to get to. He might have to hunt up as well. So I think there'll be plenty of speed. I think Bowman can just sit back on the rail, smoke his pipe, and hopefully get a split at the right time. And as I said, she loves the ground, so I thought she was a decent play in the last. So I think it's a tough day on Saturday, but I think she'll run well.
Yeah, certainly no disgrace to lower the colours to Frumos. Everyone I've spoken to since that run agrees that she looks to be top class. And, of course, Mark, you flagged her up before that run at Rosehill off her wins at Newcastle. Yet another reason to tune in each week. Rob, any views on this?
Well, look, I'm lining up with Mark Shean. Frumos, she was the hot horse in the yard, the first spring horse I've seen in the winter, other than Jojo as a man. But, you know, he's a winter welter. Good old boy. The Sir Lemur, I've been on two of its wins this prep. Just parades with great condition, really good attitude, real tries, finds the line, and obviously it's that we think that horse is really good. So, you know, shorter run well, and with those Bowman stats as well. What price is she again with Ready Bet, Mark?
480 currently, but yeah, subject to change with quite a few emergencies in the race. If they don't get a run, it probably hovers around that mark to go for a start anyway. So yeah, if she holds up that price, it's not a bad
with the pace in the race. Like Titanium Power has been a good horse to me. Is very, very brave. Is huge weight though with Glyn. And look, if there was going to be a smoky with that pace, I'd say Exceltic. It's usually a very honest. I don't know what to make of its first up run, but it usually runs close up without winning. And you know, it could do something if it gets. I think it is in the field because old Buena scratched.
Yeah, it needed the pattern to be suitable. I think Exceltic. It was bloody atrocious first up, but on its best form, it's probably over the odds. That is true. So we'll just do a quick recap of those two better bets on the program from Mark. It was race 8, number 11, Too Much to Bear, at $8.50 currently at ReadyBet, and in race 10, number 10, Sula Mare, $4.80 at the moment. And of course, don't forget the two trial Blackbookers, the Godolphin filly Larkspur Run, and the O'Shea 2-year-old of unknown gender. We're not sure if it's a colt or a filly called, its name escaped me now. Was it? Starts with J.
Jinquera.
That'll it. Jinquera. They're the two for the Black Book, which has been on fire. After Cabin didn't quite get the money this week, but it was just yet another one of them to run really, really well. So add those two to your Black Book. Anyway, Mark, Rob, thank you very much again for another episode of Victims. It's been great fun, and we'll do it all again next week.